live? Are we live? I think we are live on Twitter. It looks like we're live. Welcome to Gamcast for Saturday morning. Here today to talk about the Supreme Court once again proving that it is not conservative, far from it, and also to break down and dispel the myths about the El Salvador gentleman who the government must now facilitate him coming back. First off, let me debunk the myth out there. So here's this is a reporter for a legal magazine called Law 360. A 9-0 Supreme Court upholds a court order requiring the Trump administration to bring a Maryland man, yada, 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 back to the USA after mistakenly deporting him to El Salvador. That is absolutely not what the court said. Not at all. That's what the three fascists said, but they were in the minority. The 9-0 opinion merely says, and I'll read it here for you so you get it absolutely right, the rest of the district court order remains in effect but requires clarification on remand. So what the judge had ordered is what this person is saying, and they said, no, we need you to clarify this. The intended scope of the term effectuate in the district court order, however, is unclear. It's not unclear. He's a fascist and he's lying, and he's trying to order the commander-in-chief to do something which he has no power to do. But the Supreme Court, again, is going out of its way to give this guy a chance, which, by the way, he won't take. Anyway, the district court should clarify its directive with due regard for the deference owed the executive branch in the conduct of foreign affairs. For its part, the government should be prepared to share what it can concerning the steps it has taken and the prospect for further steps. So basically, they punted. They sent it back to this guy. I guarantee you he's going to say, go get him and bring him back. What is he going to do? Invade El Salvador? I mean, he could try and get him back. I get that. But that's really up to the executive. The courts don't have any power, if the Constitution is followed, to do that. But again, you have now 6 justices who signed on to that per curiam essential opinion, saying basically, it looks like you exceeded your power, but we're not really sure. We're going to send it back to you. You can clarify it. They could have said what they should have said, which is, listen, you made a mistake. There's nothing we can do. We'd like it if you'd fix it, but it's really nothing we can do about that. And then that person would have a claim for money damage or something else, right? Or you can sue in another court, but you don't have the right to order around the chief executive. But noticingly, the Supreme Court here, and if you look, I've the opinion pulled up, it's about a 4-page opinion if you read it top to bottom. The original 9-0 part, which I basically just gave you the entirety of it, is a half a page. The rest of it is Justice Sotomayor, right, the unwise Latina who once again has to demagogue. So here's a couple things she has to say here. I just wanted to highlight them for you. And I want you to understand, 3 justices on the Supreme Court were fully ready for a judge to order the President of the United States what he should do in terms of this. And I want to highlight a couple things. First and foremost, Sotomayor goes out of her way to lie, just like everybody else is lying. This guy absolutely was subject to deportation. A Biden judge had issued deportation. The only thing is he had said you can deport him, but not to El Salvador because I think that's dangerous. And the Trump administration admitted it made a mistake. Well, here's Sotomayor in her 3 pages, says right in here that the government's argument, however, implies that it could deport and incarcerate any person, including U.S. citizens, without legal consequence, so long as it does so before a court can intervene. Folks, this is nothing but demagoguery. And again, you have to understand how the left works, and I do. This is a trick of theirs. Our system is set up for compromise, right? And so if you take a normal, rational, good faith position, which she's not, but if you say, they could deport anybody under this logic, including U.S. citizens, which is absurd, just absurd. But if she takes that ridiculous position, in order to meet her halfway, you've got to come way, way, way to the left, which is exactly what she got 6 people who were otherwise, well, except for Coney Barrett and Roberts, but the other 4 were somewhat rational. They joined on to this because of her absurd position. She goes on to say all this other stuff. For example, she says that means the government must comply with its obligation to provide Albrego Garcia due process of law, including notice and opportunity to be heard. That is absolutely 1,000% not the law. He's here illegally. He does not have those rights, no matter how you slice it. What she's referring to is he does have the right to habeas corpus. I did this on the last episode. Anybody that's gone to law school will tell you this. Everybody, even Satan, if he were to magically appear before us, would have the right to say, hey, I'm being held improperly, habeas corpus. That is a very limited, small right. It's not what she says. She goes on and on and on about all these other things that happen. And the reason I'm bringing this up is to make an important point, which is this. None of the other justices signed on to that. It's a minority position. It only got 1/3 of the court. But it shows you what she would have done. She fully believes, and so do Jackson and so do Kagan. I'm very disappointed by her because she otherwise seems like she's rational. They would absolutely think they have the power to boss the executive around. This is nothing more than a judicial coup, and the Supreme Court dodged what was a perfect opportunity to basically lay out what the rational law would be. Anyway, they didn't. So, of course, I just want to say a couple other things here, folks. Here's one of the Obama bros from Pod Save America. Fair warning, if you don't want profanity, just hit pause for 30 seconds or fast forward. But anyway, here he is discussing what he heard when he heard the opinion. Again, this is part of the reason we can't make any progress because people lie and they have an echo chamber and they just lie. Anyway, here he is reacting to the opinion and again, repeating the myth.
Government to facilitate his return. This is the case that J.D. Vance tweeted at me and said that I obviously hadn't read the court document about this because he was MS-13. Well, J.D. Vance, I guess you didn't fucking read the court document because all 9 Supreme Court justices, including Sam Alito, Clarence Thomas.
Okay, again, I just told you what they said. They went back and they said, you need to clarify your order. What are you asking them to do? And it should be, if this guy has a chance, he'll be smart and make his order more reasonable. He won't, and so it'll come back at the Supreme Court, and at that point, they'll have to do something, but they're just sticking their head in the sand, hoping they have to deal with this. But one other thing I want you to be aware of, I'll close out. You got to be careful of these faux conservatives. You're getting a lot of people on the so-called right, like Eric Erickson, Ben Shapiro, and here's Richard Hannity as a good example. Supreme Court orders the Trump administration to facilitate the release of blah, 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 blah. Okay, a victory for the rule of law. It is absolutely not a victory for the rule of law. And I want you to understand, I made this point in the last video, make it again. This is what they're doing for people who are here illegally and who a judge has already said he's illegal, he's a gang member. You can kick him out of the country, just don't send him to El Salvador because I think it's dangerous for him. That's it. And they'll go to these links for this piece of trash. What do you think they're going to do when they start getting to people who are otherwise problematic but somewhat sympathetic? And I want to close with this. I found this doing my research for this show. Supreme Court rules 9-0. The administration must, quote unquote, facilitate the return of the guy they mistakenly deported to a prison in El Salvador. This echoes the reasoning of a circuit court judge, Wilkinson, who wrote that the government can be ordered to facilitate, not effectuate, a return. Now, folks, this is alarming. I was not aware of this trend in the law. This is sort of crazy stuff, but this is what you're going to see, and this is what they do. You know, it's like the old Andy Dufresne, right, from Shawshank Redemption. All you need is time and pressure, and you can take a valley and make it into the Grand Canyon if you take long enough. They have no power to order him to facilitate, effectuate, none of the eights. They have zero power to do that. They are upsetting the constitutional balance. Frankly, I hope Trump just tells them to go stuff it, but he probably won't do that. He'll go try to facilitate it, and we'll be back where we are. But this is dangerous, folks. You cannot order the chief executive to do anything. What you can do is you can give the person damages and other orders like that and see what the president does with it. But you can't order them to do around. That's the way. That's what elections are for. But again, what we're seeing here is a continuation of a judicial coup. And but don't believe the hype. The Supreme Court, they're not conservative. They didn't do the right thing, but it wasn't as bad as the left is making it seem to be. Anyway, if you enjoyed this content, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. And if you do, you'll see me on the next one.